This Japanese guy in colorful pajamas woke up in a super plain room with no doors or windows. As he checked out the walls, he noticed something weird sticking out. It looked like a silly shape. Curious, so he poked it and pressed the tip of it. A bunch of baby angels started giggling and popping out from everywhere, but they only stuck around for a few seconds, leaving behind many buttons scattered across the room. This is a phase known as learning. Now our hero sniffed the finger he used to poke the strange button. He panicked in fear and he screamed for help, but no one came to the rescue. With no other options, he started pressing more buttons. Each time he pressed one, a random object dropped into the room, anything from a tiny toothbrush to a huge vase. This guy discovers that by hitting the same button, he keeps getting the same stuff. In this case, he gets a mountain of chopsticks. When he tries the button next to the chopstick button, a little cart rolls out and smacks his legs. Still recovering from that pain, he presses another button and a butt appears and lets out a fart in his face. Talk about a stinky surprise. After a few hours of pushing buttons, the room is now packed with all sorts of random things. When he tosses a ball at the wall, it hits a button that gives him sushi. This excites him since he's been getting hungry, but it's missing a soy sauce. Hungry and frustrated, he begs for it, but no one answers. So he repeatedly presses a button, summoning more sushi, but still no soy sauce. Finally giving in, he munches on the sushi, finding it surprisingly tasty. Just when he finishes the last piece, he presses the button again and gets furious when a bottle of soy sauce appears. After pushing the bottle away, he presses another button. This time, he scores a pair of old-school 3D glasses. He puts them on and sees a baby angel pointing at his button. For a moment, he thinks he's onto something big, but pressing that same button triggers a countdown, and out of nowhere, a giant butt descends from above, making a fart. A few hours pass, and our guy enjoys reading through 5 volumes of a manga. He presses a button, expecting volume 6, but he gets volume 7 instead. Annoyed, he tries other buttons, giving him volumes 8 and 9, but no volume 6. Our guy stumbles upon a button that reveals a hidden door in the wall. After realizing it's a door, in excitement, he loses track of which button opens it. Trying his luck, he presses one at random. To his surprise, an African tribesman dashes across the walls. Another press and makes a waterfall on his head. The third time is the button he's looking for. Excitedly, he rushes toward it, only to have it slam shut in his face. He tries again, and the same thing happens. That's when he realizes the door stays open only when the button is pressed down. So he gets creative, attempting different tactics. First, he tries pressing it with his foot in a runner's position. Then, he uses a fly swatter, hoping distance makes a difference. Next, he pulls it with a jump rope or using the air from a fan, but none of this works either. Determined, our guy comes up with a new plan. He decides to hop on the cart and give it a push after hitting the button. However, after a few tries, he faces the undeniable truth that the cart has a mind of its own. He needs to focus on keeping the button down. He grabs a huge vase and puts it on top, but the button manages to pop back up again. Now, our hero is onto something. The vase needs to be heavier. His first idea is to use the water button, but it turns out to be a watery disaster. No matter how hard he tries to direct the flow, the water only falls on him and nowhere else. So, he goes for a sushi solution, attempting to fill the vase with it, but the sushi-packed vase becomes so heavy that he can't even lift it. The vase's narrow neck makes him unable to reach the sushi. So, our guy has no choice but to use chopsticks, removing sushi piece by piece. After a bit of sushi surgery, he manages to lift the vase, but now he can't remember which button to press. So he puts the vase on the floor and takes a guess. The African tribesman comes out, accidentally bumping into the vase and causing it to crack and split in half. This sends our hero into a full-blown meltdown. Amid his freak-out and non-stop yelling, he miraculously finds the right button. Thinking fast, he covers it with sushi, hoping to keep it down. But that plan fails miserably, and the little button pops up among the rice. Determined, the man tries covering the troublesome button with tape, and then he adds a steel plate for good measure. But nothing seems to work. After taking some painkillers to soothe the ache from the door slamming into his back and takes a quick nap, the guy decides it's teeth cleaning time. Pressing a button, he expects water, but gets a rope that drops from the ceiling. Suddenly, he's in a better mood as a new plan forms in his mind. He opens the door, swings across the room using the rope, and he reaches the door before it closes. Unfortunately, it's locked tight. Hurrying back to the room, he barely makes it before the door slams shut, hitting him on the way out. Frustrated, he kicks the wall, accidentally hitting a button and revealing a key floating in the middle of the room. Just as with the door, the key vanishes when the button pops back up. Now, our guy faces the challenge of keeping both the key in the room and the door wide open. Determined to find the elusive button, our guy takes a guess based on where his foot landed after kicking the wall. Button 1, it summons a barking dog on the wall. Button 2, he gets the same result. Luckily, the third time he locates the right button. He keeps his eyes and points at it while moving backward. He grabs a piece of sushi and marks the button, but pressing it releases the dog again. Determined, he quickly finds the correct button, marking it with another piece of sushi. Now, he makes the rope appear and swings across the room to reach different buttons. Unfortunately, he miscalculates and lands on the floor. He spots spots a plunger he had gotten from one of the buttons. This gives him another idea to succeed. He decides to use the plunger to touch the wall and push himself farther. After the first try, he gets the hang of it. The combination of swinging on the rope and using the plunger to push him forward, he manages to press the button key, grab the key, hit the door button, and swing to the door just in time. Our guy quickly inserts the key into the lock, swiftly turning it. As he attempts to open the door, it won't budge because there's a separate lock on the top, demanding 3 numbers. Panic sets in as he hurriedly exits, enduring another door hit on the way out. Frustrated, he throws the plunger, accidentally hitting a button that summons the African tribesman. Observing him closely, our guy notices something peculiar. 3 numbers painted on the tribesman's forehead. It must be the combination for the lock. With time ticking away behind the door, he goes through the whole swinging on the rope and jumping routine 3 times, 1 for each number to enter. On the 3rd attempt, he manages to unlock it and opens the door. Finally, it opens halfway, and the wall behind him closes, leaving him trapped without enough space to complete the door's opening. Overwhelmed, the man sits on the floor and lets out tears, reminiscing about the joy he had with the objects from the buttons. He recalls the room where he had more space and entertainment, realizing he didn't appreciate it enough at the time. Suddenly, a breeze brushes against his face from the left wall. Our hero finds a crack and discovers it's a fake and wastes no time pushing the panel open. Running out, he finds himself in a mysterious hallway suspended in a pitch-black void. It feels like an eternity as he runs towards an exit. Upon finally reaching a room, we notice his hair is longer and the colors of his lovely pajamas have faded. This room is also empty, and instead of baby angels, adult ones occupy the space and vanish into the walls, and the door closes behind him, leaving only their buttons sticking out. This phase is known as practice. In a Mexican city, a wrestling match is about to begin. The match features the team North Rudist, comprising Super Demon and Tequila Joe. Their opponent's team name is Kiss Me A Lot, comprising Escargot Man and Silver Eagle. Silver Eagle takes the stage, starting with an impressive performance. However, the Northern Tough Ones team up against him in a 2-on-1 onslaught. In the ring, the Northern Tough Ones continue calling at Escargot Man, urging him to join the battle. However, he refuses to enter the fight until Silver Eagle executes a clever trick to make the enemy duo hit each other, creating an opening for his escape. Escargot Man steps into the ring but is quickly overwhelmed by his opponents. Just as his situation looks dire with an impending chair attack, our hero in the strange room presses the button, causing Escargot Man's neck to magically extend, delivering a powerful headbutt that knocks out both of his opponents. Back in the room, the man notices that nothing is happening. Curious, he keeps pressing the same button, causing Escargot Man to deliver knockout blows to Silver Eagle, the referee, his fan, and even the bell. Frustrated by the lack of results, our guy begins pressing different buttons, causing the lead singer of a metal band to breathe fire above the concert audience. Another button disrupts a Russian magician's trick, leading to the failure of making his assistant disappear. A third button makes a man unexpectedly bark at his own dogs. The man gives up and he notices a light streaming from above, realizing that this room lacks a ceiling and he can see angels flying in the distance. Determined to try something new, the man decides to use the buttons. Instead of pressing them, he starts using them as handholds and footholds to climb the walls. To his surprise, each time he grabs a button with his hands or steps on it with his feet, something remarkable happens on Earth. Like different flowers blossoming, a penguin fell into the water. As he ascends higher on the walls, the effects of button pressing become increasingly complicated. It's not just nature anymore. Now it involves humanity. Everyday occurrences like a toaster, an elephant slipping, a building collapsing, and even landing on the moon. As he reaches the top, both the man's hair and beard have grown long. He no longer needs to hold onto the wall. He can now float just like the angels. Drawing upon the experience gained from the training in the previous rooms, the man embraces his newfound role as a god. He no longer randomly presses buttons. Instead, he deliberately picks all the Earth's major events. As he finishes, he finds himself surrounded by feathers instead of walls, and a glowing portal appears, transporting him to the final room. This room has the Earth's continents appearing on its walls and featuring a single colossal button that our hero is about to press. This phase is known as the future. Don't forget to subscribe. Here's some more interesting story you don't want to miss.